Hi everyone. Just wanted to speak about something that I hope does bring you some feeling, some sort of benefit into your life, as well as peace and contentment, or maybe it's just a sense of having a different understanding of what actually happens between life. So when someone is ready to leave this earth life and they're making their transition, their beautiful journey home over to heaven, what does that feel like? Now, before I'd even started this little video, I'd sat here just for a few moments and I thought, well, I would quite like to make a YouTube video. And I wasn't too sure on which topic to choose or what would be beneficial to speak about. So as always, I asked my own team, and like everybody else, everybody has their own individual helpers that are always helping them all the way through life. And what was brought to me loud and clear, and I'd written it on the piece of paper just in front of me as well, moments before death. And because I look at death differently, I don't look at death in the same way as somebody that's going through a really, really difficult time when they lose someone. That's the best way to explain it, and how it's shown to me. I was taught from such a young age on the journey of death, the journey of the soul, the journey of life, and all of that was taught to me at a very childhood stage of life from my own dad. And although that there was always going to be that little contest, the little questioning and why and what, and don't really understand it. And even when I grew up into teenage years, and that information was still passed over to me, and I still would question every single part of it. Always knowing somewhere it would travel with me. Even at that age, it would come into my life, and that was something that I needed to do because I was so intrigued by it. It sounds so dark and sinister saying I was so intrigued by death, but I was so intrigued in such a real, enhancing kind of feeling. It's like, I just need to know more. I want to know more. Why does my dad keep telling me that this is such a beautiful thing? And never to weep for any longer than you should when you lose someone. So that's developed with me through my journey so far. And I can't see life any differently from that beautiful transformation of what happens when a soul leaves the body in this life and then makes their return visit there. It's, how can I explain? It's like from when the gates of heaven open and they see and just feel, it's like that emotion, that most inspiring, it's so that's how I get it. It's like, what's the most beautiful word you can give me? It's just awe in your heart when they just make their journey back. They then come into that realization of seeing everyone who was familiar to them before, whether that be human life or animal life. It's all one when someone returns back to heaven, but it's just that most amazing feel that they do have in their own soul heart, their own spiritual heart. So when I was given the topic moments before death, and I was like, okay, I like that, I can speak about that. How is it best for me to explain? Because there's many ways in how I can explain what it feels like, but I don't want to talk forever or lose your attention with this video either. So there's a lot of experiences personally from what I've gone through with my own mum and dad and my brother and other loved ones. And then there's the other part of the information that I deliver to people that come to see me and receive the information from their loved ones in a session with me. So no one has that same story, because no one is living an exact life. Everybody has that feeling, it's that part of themselves which is individual, and that continues all the way through life, even at the moments of death. Now, what I do want to speak about, because I'm like, whilst I'm talking here on the video, I'm also talking to the other side to say, well, where would you like me to start? What's a good thing to begin with? Stubbornness. Okay, that's what they're saying to me. They're just flagging up, Asha, speak about being stubborn. No, not me. But when someone has that stubborn trait within their personality, that's still there with them. That never ever leaves. Your personality, yeah, we can fine tune it ever so slightly, polish it up as we're just developing and maturing through life. But at the same time, it's still us, it's our unique self. So that personality remains in that person's life, even when they're going through the most difficult situations. Now, when someone has that understanding of, I'm leaving this life, I know that there's nothing else that can be done for me, there is no improvements to be made, that light is already appearing. They have that inner knowing in their own, like the development of their own soul. So even if you were to ask your loved one at that stage of life, sometimes, yeah, people can explain that they've seen other loved ones make an appearance into their space and just like beckoning them to come back to their own home. Other times, people have got this bit of unsureness, what's going on, because they haven't quite fully aligned with their soul self, because they're still dipping into what's happening in and around physically. And that distraction in itself is who's with them, what is going on, what is happening. And it's like everyday life. It just grabs our attention. So, but when they do have that full understanding, it's just like that inner knowing, I'm needing to leave, I'm needing to go off into the next stage of life. Some people move quite freely and they come into that form of acceptance, like, I just need to leave and I know that everything's going to be okay, and the people that I'm leaving behind, they're also going to be okay because I'm still going to be able to oversee them or overlook whatever is happening in their life. Other people who have that stubbornness within their persona, they make their own decision to go. Now, just feel into that scenario, and I'm sure you'll be able to relate that experience to someone who you've already lost in life. Now, what happens and how it's explained to me, it's like, I want to go because I know where I'm going, okay, this is when it comes to the person, but at the same time, I'm not ready to go yet. Now, a lot of times it could be because, example, a conflict going on in family life. So they want to be here because they know that they're that person that can sort that, setting something out before they go. And although that they can still fix something, it just becomes a little bit harder when someone's in heaven, because now at that stage, in heavenly stage, they're needing to feed a person's intuition rather than being verbal and being like making that physical appearance in their life. So then it can take that bit longer for the information to go through to who needs it most. So that's one part. The other part is always to do with like the heart of the person. This is the family. This isn't the person that's moving to heaven. The heart of the person and what they're going to go through thereafter. So what that person who is ready to go into their wholesome soul form, they just want to be reassured within their own self that their loved ones are going to be okay. They're, when it comes to their emotional and mental health, so they're already, it's like in that half development. It's like how it's shown. It's like I'm just ebbing and flowing. I'm going into heaven, but I'm still coming back to the physical life. But whilst I'm in the physical life, I'm just seeing, it's like the eruptions of the emotions of the people that I love. So I just need to make sure that they're going to be okay, because when I go back into heaven form, I'm seeing it's like their timeline further down the line. So I know what they're going to come up towards. I know what's going to happen to them. So I don't want them to suffer for any longer than they should. So therefore, I will persevere and I will stay here on earth, even though there is that feeling that, oh no, they are suffering and they are going through this longer than they should. But then that comes back to that stubborn trait in the personality. Now, I'm sure, as I said, that you've all came across a situation like this previously already in your life, or if not, I do hope you remember when, if you do come up to that, because you'll always need to face death at some point in life, that you will have a completely different understanding to why that person is being resistant and not moving on to the next life. Then there's the other part of moments before death. Are people scared of death? Because that's always a fear. That's always like that extra hanger that's left on the hearts of the people that remain here, because it's always to do with the expression, it's to do with the behaviour, what they're going through, what they have been fighting so far. Never ever does anyone look at death, okay, as fear. Now you would say, but I remember when such and such happened, and it maybe flagged up back in your head. Now, what Spirit always tell me that that's a physical perspective. That's like the human mind telling you something disastrous is going wrong, something is really like upsetting the person. It's really like emotional trauma and what someone is going through, because you are also caught up in that situation also. So it's affecting you more than it's affecting the person. But what you're only seeing, what you're only feeding into, is what is happening on a body human level. What is happening within the person is like that beautiful glistening glow which is there and just like sparking the most beautiful light in every single one. What is happening to that person with their glow? They're already in a glorious life. So what is happening, and what is always told to me for me to pass on, don't get attached to what I was going through, because I was already gone. And the way to explain it, and it's the most simple way, because we can't like feed into any further, or it's like we can't discuss it any further, when they do say, and they explain it as the body was just finishing off. Now there will always be that a little disruption within ourselves. We will feel it through our own body, and we'll come back with it. But because we're always looking to continue pain, now that sounds silly, but it's true, because we prolong ourselves in pain for way longer than we should, because we just get so like attached to what has gone on, what that person's been through, and eventually what they've had to come to. And this is when we look at death in a completely different view, with the opinion of our own head rather than our heart, knowing all along, somewhere deep within our soul, there's a little whisper coming from heaven to say, there is no such thing as death at all. It's only a movement from this life to the next. So I'm hoping that you do listen to what I've said, and you do feed it into your own heart space. You'll never be able to feed it into your head, because it will always have this little fight against it, okay? Whatever you try to feed it in a soul form, there'll always be some sort of response that will do your world not any good whatsoever. So please always be reassured that everyone that makes that transition to the next stage of their life is always held in such a beautiful space, and they're always there just hanging around in the most beautiful way, being a part of your life every day.